Hi there, it's Polly here with my pal Mr. Snoots, and we are, yahoo, in Bali. And I have done my tradition and lugged 400 tons of books to strange climes to review for you guys. So I've found some real gems lately. Now this is one that I'd heard a lot about, so I was really waiting for the hard copy release into general public so that you can get it once I've reviewed it. And here it is. This is Shadowdark. Now, Shadowdark, you've probably heard a lot about it, so what the hell is it? Yeah, what the hell is it? So, this is a old school Dungeons and Dragons style game. Now, first off, you'll see it's hard copy. It's A5, beautiful production, some quite intricate pillows. Now, this is a re-imaging of D&D, and oh yes, there are so many of those. This one's choice, this one's choice. Now, I've seen a lot of people pushing this as kind of grimdark D&D. It is not. They make that very clear. They tell you as you're setting up campaigns, pick the theme that you're going to do. It could be grimdark, it could be gonzo, it could be humorous, it could be Pythonesque, it could be gritty sword and sorcery, it could be high fantasy. Choose how you're going to do the genre, choose how you're going to use these rules. They've given you the tools to do that, but do stick to it. If it's dark, grungy, kind of gritty, savage stuff, and suddenly it turns Pythonesque, then you kind of betrayed a lot of character expectations and so on. People were working towards something, and you've kind of cut that out from under them. So it isn't grimdark. It can be though. So what have they done? Well, it's a very cleaned up version of kind of BX and advanced D&D in many ways. So it's simplified and crispified to make it a very clear and very usable game. So we have the expected Dungeons and Dragons style characteristics in the expected 3d6 range, which get you a bonus. An 18 is a 4, 16, 17 is a +3, etc. So we've seen these mechanics before. Now, there is a difficulty class that you're rolling against to do skill checks. I think it's a difficulty 9. Yeah, easy is difficulty 9, normal difficulty is 12, hard is 15, extreme is 18. To which those bonuses will add to a d20 dice roll to achieve. Now, they've simplified armor and everything right down. So, they basically said there's leather, there's chain, there's plate. There we go. Shields give you a +2 to your armor class, so thank you. It's like more than this pathetic little 5% thing. Shield's actually kind of hard to get past. I personally assure you, it can be a pain. They've got set character classes. They have a warrior, they have a wizard, they have a cleric, they have a thief. They've kept it within those bounds. But now here's the thing. You can pick your race that you're going to be. Each of these classes has talents associated with them, which is done on a random 2d6 roll. The pages for the class has a series of special talents that they get. When you make a character, you roll, and you get one of these. If you're a fighter, the most common one is you're going to add half of your level number to your chance to hit with the specialized weapon of your choice. So there's none of this normal thing where it gets easier to hit as you go up levels. You stay the same. It's a talent that you get. But as you go up levels, you will get more talents that you roll. However, when you start your character, a human gets an extra talent roll. The non-human races get a whole bunch of skills, abilities, traits, what have you, rather than the extra random roll. So those, for elves, you might be able to choose, they have spell use, or they're great archers, they have many different selections. Dwarves are very butch in this, etc. You have hit points in the usual kind of way, although they've kept these down to more BX levels. A fighter is a D8, a cleric is a D6, so that's why I say BX. They've kept those down at the same level as the monsters, which is where they were supposed to be. It was always supposed to be that way. So you're getting quite customized characters depending on how those talents roll. If you want a kind of a shamany sort of cleric, that's a talent that you can roll. This character has got, you know, these special abilities. Now, there's some supplemental material that has many other specialized classes beyond this. So never fear, your druids, your bards, your rangers, all that sort of stuff is in here, and there's plenty of secondary follow-up stuff. But in this, the core original classes. The weapons, likewise, have been kept pretty simple. So we don't have the 400 tons of different polearms, which almost seriously do a d8 damage. We've got, you know, great swords and bastard swords and two-handed axes and long swords and short swords, etc., etc., etc. The usual suspects, in other words. But one thing that they do bring in is your character load. They brought in character encumbrance. It's a very specific thing. There's a set number of slots that your character gets, and it's very limited because the core of this game that they're emphasizing time and time again is resource management. And there's a reason. The reason is, did you ever see a really good submarine movie? There's a thing we scriptwriters call the pinch, where the resources are whittled away from people. So what seemed at the moment of beginning this journey, there's tons of resources, we haven't got many worries. That submarine movie, we start getting out of torpedoes. Suddenly we can't go beyond this depth, the hull's damaged, it's creaking. We've lost a couple of key characters now. We've got less and less resources, we've got less and less choices, these are being taken from us. Therefore the tension goes up. That's what this game is trying to preserve in your adventuring. You haven't got infinite material, and one thing they're on about time and time again is light. There's no spells or powers that take away darkness, at least not without costing you magical slots, magical use. But they want darkness to be fear-inducing, not just, my character's got some kind of magical dark vision, so I don't care. No one has that. Torch in hand or light spell in hand, you have to go down into the dark areas and explore, and that light has limited endurance. That torch runs out, I've got to bring out a new one, but that's one of my slots that I've used. There's a little conceit that they put in here too, by the way, where they've said in kind of adventure time, dungeoneering time, 1 hour of actual sitting at the table time is how long one torch will last. You can take that or leave that. Not a bad idea. But that's kind of an interesting little conceit of the game. Now, the other thing that's differed is magic for characters. Original D&D, you might remember, as you go up in levels, you can cast spells of higher levels, and it gives you a different number, which increases of how many spells at different levels that you can cast. First thing, they stopped calling the increased layers of skill spells, they stopped calling it levels, because characters have levels, spells have tiers. The higher the tier, the more powerful it is. So thank you for changing that bloody term. It always annoyed me. I used to call them circles just because. But great idea. But you still have that chart, which has a number of spells at levels, but that is the number of spells that you know. You can cast any spell that you know as many times a day as you want until you fail your check to throw the spell. Then you can't cast it anymore until you've had a long rest, which is basically you've made camp for the night and slept. But you can keep going. You can just keep on casting the spell. So, not a bad idea. You have to make a skill check to cast the spell successfully. And if you fail, you can't keep using it. One little thing that I do find annoying, and I think it's unworkable, like thumbs up for trying, but if you roll a 1, that's a kind of a critical failure. If you roll a 1 on a skill check to cast a spell, alright, if you're a cleric, it means you've somehow angered your god and you've got to make, some sort of penance before you roll it again. Fine. I'll give money to the orphans or I'll go on that quest for you. For magic users, you have to roll on these charts. The charts are lethal. Hideously lethal. It's a D12 on a 1. Ignore further ones and roll twice again. Okay. On a 2, your first level magic user takes 1d8 damage. Good, that's an instant kill. Even if he's a second level magic user, because I've only got 1d4 hit points. So you have, well, I think I worked it out. All up, there's other things where the spell reverses on you. So if you're trying to do a magic missile or something, weird thing. Most D&D offensive spells are damaging to fighter classes, but lethal to a magic user of the equivalent level. A first level magic user casting a magic missile spell, the magic user has a D4 hit points. Magic missile does a D4 plus 1. That's a kill right there. So one of the things is the spell's reflected back on the caster. Boom! Alright, so that's 2 out of 12, but the one's been a roll twice. So I've got 2 out of 11 chance to each get these. I think I worked out there's something like a 28% chance of dying if you're first or second level magic user rolling on that. But wait, there's more. It gets more lethal as you go up to high level spells. So I know the idea is to make casting magic is uncertain and you shouldn't just fling it around, is the idea. But it's lethal to the poor bugger who's actually using it. But that poor bugger is already penalised. He's got half the hit points of a fighter, and he can't wear armour, and he can't use weapons. So he's already penalised, and now he's being penalised again because the only thing the magic user does is lethal. 5% of all spells cast will fail as a critical failure, and of those, 1 in 4 of those is going to be deadly. 1 in 80. If you have a magic user that, on average, somehow casts a spell a day, he'll be dead in about 2.5 months. If he doesn't, if he stretches out so he only does it once a week or so, he might live about 14 months maybe, but then he's going to die. So that is the problem with that system. Now, the way to fix that is they have put some system tweaks, things that you can do, things that you can change, and one of those is you might want something that's a bit more kind of gonzo playing, where you get some kind of fate points or something that you can throw in to do re-rolls for anything. I would suggest that. I would suggest that for the magic users. It's just, otherwise you're not going to get magic cast in your game. It's too lethal to the person throwing it. Just my view, but I've been doing this a long time. I can do statistical probability like the rest of us. But apart from that, this is a brilliant game. Like I said, that system's very crisp and very clear. It's very simple. It's got the resource management, food, light, rations. It's all in there. They've made the kind of modern choices on taking a short break rest, taking a long break rest. Death. Okay, so you've got hit points. When you go to 0, your character is down. You roll a d4, add to that your constitution bonus. You're basically lingering for that many combat rounds. In each of those rounds, you can roll the dice, and on a 20, oh, the fate has smiled upon you, or 'tis but a scratch, your character rises up with 1 hit point. They're fine. Other than that, they're going to be dead at the end of it if they don't roll the 20, but anyone can walk up and try doing an intelligence roll to staunch your wounds. So, alright, so it's very clear about those sorts of things. It's also quite clear as it's talking about this isn't about killing characters. However, death has to be possible so that people treat fearsome situations with fear and use caution. It's also very clear about embracing the kind of old school guys that this is not a game about balancing encounters. It's a scary world out there. Some stuff is horrible to the extent that you must deliberately keep away from it. If you walk into that, that's your problem. You chose it. So, the other cool thing I like is monsters. So they have a full list of monsters. It's the usual suspects. But they have guidelines for making monsters and guidelines for changing the monsters in here so that they're different. The characters and the players will always be guessing. It's not just a goblin. It's a goblin that's... These ones can go invisible. These ones are a weird colour. These ones can, climb and scuttle up walls. Or, you can generate these things that make all of these different creatures different. They've all got their own flavour, their own shock value, which I love. But this whole thing is full of wonderful encounter charts, and those encounters aren't just I run into someone that has a fight. No, it's got them for taverns, it's got them for being in the seedy side of town, it's got them wandering through the merchants' quarters or noble quarter of town, it's got them for exploring the Arctic, for wandering down a swamp, for being on a riverboat. It's a wealth of things, but they're not just encounters of creatures, they are events. You leave the tavern and you find you've got, there is a small blue frog in your bag. It dives in and hides deep when it notices that you've seen it. So lots of things to open up stories. There's also things for generating what monsters are doing when you see them. It's not just, you see 4 trolls, roll initiative. And like, no. Yeah, you see 4 trolls. What are they doing? Their laundry? Oh, yeah. They're sitting beside this river and they're washing out their loincloths. They've got 3 or 4 other loincloths there. Oh, one's got some small ones. Might be some troll kids somewhere. Are you going to brutally attack them? Should you attack someone that's washing out their underwear? So again, a livelier world that is doing and is providing a lot of life experience. Instead of the thousands of experience points going up and up and up and different for characters of different classes, the way we had in original D&D, experience points, you only need a few of them in multiples of 10. Basically, you need, I think it's the your level times 10 experience points is what you need to get to the next level. Experience is not given out for killing monsters. It's given out for achieving things. It's given out for... now this is pushing one of the main achievements is finding treasure. I never liked that personally. But this is doing that because it feels that's the old school Geist. But it's not a lot. You find kind of a treasure, and treasures are rare. Monsters tend not to carry them, and there's very little treasure. There's not 10,000 gold pieces. It's like a dozen gold pieces, a couple of dozen silvers. They've stopped that money just flowing everywhere that makes everything so ludicrous in original D&D. We've gone from wondering if you can afford plate armor if the whole party clubs in, as a starting character, to just not really caring. I've got 5,000 or 6,000 gold pieces in my pocket and I don't care anymore. They made you care. So they've kept the resources low. But when you find a treasure, that's a little bit of experience. Big treasure, I find the legendary dragon hoard is about 3. You can carouse. If you spend money, it gives you a bonus on this carousing table and you roll to see what happens. And you come out of that with extra experience from the legendary way in which you spent this thing. And there's usually adventure hooks or weird things come up with it. You've woken up, in the king's bedchambers, holding some kind of magical item, which looks pretty cool. And suddenly you hear the sound of guards walking down the passageway towards you. Good. Over to you. We start playing again. So, carousing all that money away. Yes, I'm spending 1,800 gold pieces on an amazing, ridiculous, epic, legendary 3-month binge. We'll get you experience points. So and that sort of thing they've taken on, say, the Conan role-playing game back in D20 days. So they've taken a lot of good ideas and put these things together into a really good package. The other thing that we get with this, there's these fantastic Cursed Scroll magazines. Each of these has a miniature campaign in it with attendant extra character classes, tons of monsters, hex crawls and dungeons and new spells to go with new magic using classes. So at the moment, as time of filming, we've got 3. I particularly like number 3, which has a very Viking kind of islands campaign on it. The adventures in these, some of them are for low level, some of them for high level. This game also does the 0 level crush, if you want it, where you make a bunch of 0 level characters, play those through an adventure, see who survives, and that's who becomes your first level characters. Again, entirely optional, but it's there for you to do if you want. So again, that's an idea taken from DCC. This has taken a lot of the really good ideas that have come out of some of the old school role-playing movement over the last decade. It's put in a lot of clarification and very good ideas of its own, and it's come up with a real gem of a book. So why would you play this? All right, so if you're looking for a D&D style experience, but it keeps the pressure on of limiting their resources, limiting their spells and fighting power, limiting the power spiral so it doesn't go so crazily out of control that no one's worried about being attacked by bandits or orcs anymore. This is for you. It kind of keeps the tension in the gaming, it keeps the guessing in the gaming. It makes things like encumbrance and controlling resources very simple and very easy, but very, very necessary as part of the player experience. You've got to watch your resources carefully. And so there's always that push to go a little bit too far into the dungeon. which is what gets you in trouble. So it is opening the doors to allow people to make their own trouble. Very simple to learn. It's kept its games mechanics very clear, and it's put in that D20 check for everything, which includes your saving throws, etc. It's all in that basic difficulty check. The magic is, it's more controllable than normal D&D magic. The big spells aren't there. There's no raise the dead spells. When you're dead, you're dead. So look after your character, or have it die heroically, but you don't get to piss about and then just get it back again. It's about keeping the fear and therefore keeping the heroism and therefore giving us a good game. So I think that is what makes this a real gem. I think at the moment this is probably your best kind of OSR, old school rules, D&D sort of experience out there. Well worth getting hold of. Like I said, I'd heard a lot about it. It had been a Kickstarter. I wanted the hard copy to come out so I could go over it for you guys because I thought this one might be worthwhile. It is. It is. It's everything you wanted from your old D&D, made better. Honestly made better. I think they've done a sterling job. Go and check it out. Shadowdark. It's a beautiful piece of work. Okay, anyway, Snoots and I are still in the tropics. Hopefully not getting too sunburned. We will keep lugging this heavy stuff around to do some reviews in some other places. I will see you soon. Thanks very much to all my patrons who help keep the channel running. I'm really glad that I can luck out and get to these crazy places. I'm actually here escorting a disabled friend who needs someone to help them along and literally stop them falling over. But it does mean I get to do some cool stuff for you guys. Hope to see you around the games table. Keep playing, keep looking after each other. Cheers, everyone. Bye. Bye.